You're listening to Wildlife Control Consultant, where we provide research-based information on all things related to vertebrate pest management. Hi, everyone. Stephen Van Tassel here, Wildlife Control Consultant, bringing another episode of the Wildlife Control Consultant podcast. We are a podcast that deals with research-based issues on all things related to vertebrate pest control. So hope you've had a great week. We're glad that you are here. As you can tell, we have a guest, but before we turn to him, just want to remind you that if you have issues, comments, thoughts, definitely reach out to me at wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. Love to hear you, or you can also put comments in below the video here. So we'd love to have you correspond with us in either way that you feel comfortable. Well, this week we have a returning guest, Adam Holt. He is the owner of Name Dat, D-A-T, Bug Consulting, and his website is namedatbug, namedatbug.com, namedatbug.com, and he is a certified entomologist with the Entomological Society of America. But he's also, last time he spoke with us about some of his services on the entomological side, but he also has some specialty in the area of marketing. So welcome, Adam. Glad to have you on board again here today. Tell us, just sort of reboot for people who haven't seen our previous discussion. Talk about a little bit about your experience within the industry, and then how you have taken some of that experience and moved it into the marketing side of things.
All right. Again, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Stephen. I'm glad to be
Sure.
here. And for everybody who was not here before, again, my name's Adam Holt. I'm a board certified entomologist. Yep, that's what that is. That's what that BCE stands for. And long story short, undergrad and master's degree in entomology from the University of Florida. It's stamped. There you go.
Okay. Hey, wow. All right. You're all in.
I'm all in. I'm ABD, all but dissertation. Very close.
Okay.
Did my master's thesis. I wrote a Florida field guide to bird life. So I spent 3 summers in the Florida Keys collecting a multitude of ectoparasites off of 90 different species of birds.
Wow.
Lots of fun. Love the
Nice.
Keys. Beautiful place to be. So I can't complain. It could have been worse. Then spent about 25 years in the pest control industry, and that has included so many different verticals and vectors, from public health vector side with mosquito control to residential and commercial pest control with companies like Terminex, Advanced IPM, Innovative Pest Solutions, over to the software industry side with companies like ServSuite, aka Service Titan, which is now Field Routes, Real Green, which is now owned by PestPac. I'm on a patent for an electronic rodent monitoring device. I've worked in the cannabis industry as well a little bit. So I wrote some IPM biological programs for the big players like Trulieve and Candescent.
Mm.
I've worked on the manufacturing side with Amgard Environmental Solutions. They sell a product like Navigator SC, which is your cheaper version of Termidor SC. That's like on the control side. And I've worked on the fumigation side with Douglas Products, doing all the lovely stewardship trainings on Vicane and Perfume for the residential and commercial side. And I've also done a lot of teaching on top of all of that. I've taught 7th and 8th grade science. I was an adjunct professor and taught Bio 1 and 2 for majors for 3 years. And I moved to Hawaii last year to teach 8th grade science, and that did not work out. So I decided to launch this lovely business called Name Dat Bug Consulting.
Name Dat Bug.
Should have done a long time ago, but the catalyst was the teaching thing. Thank you so much, kids. I appreciate you. And, here I am now. As far as the just to kind of add to all of this, I'm also a lovely social media influencer. I have over 500,000 followers on TikTok, not including all of the other lovely social media platforms, i.e. Instagram, Facebook Reels, YouTube, Clapper, Lemon8. I could keep going on and on. There are so many different social media platforms to take advantage of.
Wow. Okay. So where would someone who is in the wildlife control space, and where would they begin if you were trying to recommend for them to get into social marketing? Like, where should they start? Where would they start to market?
Question, and I've honestly been wanting to like write like a little like mini book on this, just because there's a lot, but there's not too much, So I think the reality is, I kind of go back to TikTok. It's like literally one of the #1 platforms that exists out there. And people eat this kind of material up when it comes to wildlife. Seeing animals, and especially if you catch them and you relocate them, They love that kind of stuff. And especially if you're getting kind of cool, crazy critters that they're not used to seeing, there's all kinds of things, all kinds of great, I would say, videos that you could capture from a wildlife perspective. Bats, and then you got the ectoparasites on the bats, and you just have all this cool stuff. And like I said, again, people just eat up this type of material. So in my mind, if I was a wildlife, a wildlife owner and a company owner and was doing this stuff, I would be taking videos of everything I came across. I would be adding them to an album on my phone to develop all that material. And then as far as like TikTok goes, you just go to TikTok, you create a profile, you're going to put your logo on there. That's going to be important. You're going to want to make sure that there's a place where you can add like a link underneath your profile. You're going to want to make sure you put your website there, right?
Mm,
Maybe put some important SEO words underneath that, right? Everybody knows what SEO is. So that's kind of the way you're going to capture everything. That's that search engine optimization. So that's important. Making sure you get those proper words underneath there. So, I mean, for you, it's going to be wildlife, wildlife control. What do people search whenever they go to the internet to search for somebody to come get their wildlife critters?
right.
Yeah, that's going to be kind of important. And then at that point, once you have that profile developed with TikTok, I would recommend going and developing it with a few other social media platforms like Facebook Reels, YouTube, Instagram. Those are probably your four main viral social media platforms that everybody touches. Right? Everybody's got an Insta, everybody's got a TikTok, all that stuff. And so I would just go and replicate that across all of those different social media platforms. So if we're talking about the four, again, we got TikTok, Facebook Reels, YouTube, and Instagram. All
Mm,
right. You're going to want to develop again. You're going to want to create those profiles for all four of those. All right. Get all that stuff going. And then you're going to want to start create. I would basically, whenever you're doing your video, people don't like your videos to be edited. Honestly, I hate edited videos. You and I have talked about this even with your podcast. You don't edit your podcast because the raw stuff is probably the best stuff.
right.
Right. That follows the same suit when you're going to social media. People like the raw stuff. So I recommend 30 seconds to a minute, right, for your videos, and then just put the raw stuff out there. And now, when I say raw, though, you can still do some voice recording over it. As long as you're talking, that's fine.
Hmm.
Regardless of whether you do the voice recording or the talking, you want to make sure you add captions so you can basically, adhere to your audiences. Because I'm very much a visual learner, but I also need to hear it. So I need to read
Yeah,
it and hear it at the same time to
right.
comprehend it. But if I'm just listening, I might not comprehend it as much as doing both. And so it's important you want to make sure plus you also have the people who can't hear. So reading the captions is important,
Hmm.
right? And so you want to making sure that you're adhering to all your different target audiences. Um, so let's see here. We've created our profile.
Yeah.
We've got our 30-second to a minute video. We're going to add that and we're going to get ready to post that. Obviously, with that video, we're going to add maybe voice overlay. All right. We might do some captions. You might want to add some like viral background music, right? I know that sounds crazy, but that's pretty important. That helps the algorithm to catch all of your stuff. All right. And then last but not least, you're going to want to basically add specific hashtags. So all I did whenever I was up and coming was I Googled what are the top 10 viral hashtags for TikTok, for Insta, for Facebook. And then literally the internet will just populate those out for you based on the number of times that videos have been viewed tied to that specific hashtag. All right. So then once you get all that done, you get your video up and up, you get your video uploaded, you get your voice overlay, you get your captions done, you get your background viral music, and you get your hashtags. What is that? 5 things. Then you're just going to try posting your video. And again, I think what we haven't talked about, Stephen, is at the end of the day, we haven't talked about this yet, so everybody can hear this. This is all free.
Right. Right.
To take your time, yes, it takes your time, but it's free. You don't have to pay for any of this. Can you put money behind it to try to drive it? Yes, you can. But if you don't want to, it's literally free. And guess what? If it's free, it's for me.
Right. Yeah. So for someone, however, who doesn't have the time to do this, this is a service that you could provide in the sense that they can send you, work out an agreement with you, they would send you the video and you could do this manipulation for them because part of it is the time component of just the mechanics of just doing it beyond recording it. I mean, I have trouble getting people in the business to just take a photo. And then if they take it, then they can't find it, right? The hardest thing when I'm a little sarcastic, the heaviest thing in the world for a wildlife control operator is the send key because it's too hard to push, right? They can't push that send key. They just can't do it. So I don't, if they can't do it when I'm paying them for the use rights of a photo,
Right.
how are they going to find the time to do some of this stuff online? So does that make sense? Or in terms of, are they going to take the time to shoot those videos? Because
100%.
doing it alone is very difficult. It's hard enough to do it with a person who's filming for you.
Yeah, I think I agree with you 100%.
Mm,
I mean, I think you got to do what you can, record the stuff you can. I mean,
yeah,
if it's you
like a
recording it, yeah,
GoPro on your forehead or something, and
if you want that, GoPros get complicated too because then with the GoPro, you got to go back and like plug it into a computer and download all the stuff, and that takes even more time. I don't
yeah,
know if I don't know if GoPro is like advanced where it can just like automatically upload to your phone. Maybe it can. You know, you
yeah, I don't know that. I don't own no GoPro, but I would just say, just in terms of the mechanics of having your hands free, uh,
oh, so you
shooting.
yeah, so you can actually buy even off Amazon now. They have a thing where you can buy like a vest strap and it cross straps over your chest, and then you can just take your phone and you can just basically hook your phone into it.
Oh,
And
nice. Okay.
yeah, so you can set up to that. I mean, there's ones for your head, there's ones for your arm, there's all kinds of different stuff. So I mean, there's definitely options out there for getting that video recorded like you're talking about.
Mm,
Um, I like the idea though of having it on my. I'm a Mac. I'm an Apple person, so
yep.
I've got my MacBook. I've got my Apple, my iPhone. So that way,
Yep.
anything I do on my iPhone, I can just AirDrop over to my MacBook and it makes it easy.
Yeah.
As far as that people would need help, my biggest suggestion would be if they decided to, reach out to me and no matter if they're contracting me out or no, whoever they're using for their services, whether they're just sharing the information with somebody else, they could just get a drive folder, like a Google Drive folder,
Yep.
drop all their videos into a drive folder, and then that's the easiest way to share things is digitally because
Right.
trying to email stuff, the files get too big, you run
That's
into other
correct. Yeah.
complications, and so that would be my suggestion there. As far as pricing, I know we kind of talked about that earlier. I don't really have a pricing set out because my stuff is more based on the project itself,
Yeah.
and so I tend to tell people, I'm like, if you were just to like call me up and hire me out for a 1 hour thing, it's going to cost you a lot more money than it would be if you actually called me up and hired me for a project
Yeah.
because then you're giving me more hours and I can obviously reduce my rate based on that. But I'm like, at the end of the day, I just encourage people to reach out in general because a lot of times people don't think they need the help or they don't want to pay for the help. But once I can tell them what the ROI is on it, that changes things, right? Because the ROI is it's going to be different for everybody. It's going to be different for your territory. It's going to be different for the demographics. There's so many things that affect the ROI. But again, this is free. And you
Yeah.
really, much as I'm happy to help you and I would love to take your money, you don't need me.
Right.
So like
That's very unusual for a marketer to say.
you can do this piece without me. Now, can I help you? Am I
Yeah.
successful? I can tell
Right.
you right now, there's not a single social media platform that I haven't gone to use. And from 0 to 7 days, haven't gone over 10,000 followers.
Wow. That's a
You
lot.
know, that's
Yeah.
just because I know how to do it now and I know how to beat the algorithm, right? And so
Right.
that's the one thing. If anything, if you wanted to hire me out, I would teach you how to do it, and then you could use the skills to use it for all the different platforms.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm
that's certainly, yeah, maybe the person will have so much work they don't even have time to take more videos. So they would be so busy. So this is there is certainly a need, I think, for uh people to get the kind of business that they're looking for because the challenge of the wildlife control is the trophic levels, right? There's always going to be more bugs than there are more plants than bugs, more bugs than vertebrates. And then you have to find customers who have those problems with vertebrates. And so it becomes a slice of a slice of a slice, and then they have to have the money to hire you to do the work. And so it's really it's a challenge for people to get involved to do that sort of work. So
We talked about it earlier, and I feel like every state has kids, which means every state has schools,
yeah.
right? I feel like schools are such a good opportunity to get like a contract with a school to be
Mhm.
like their wildlife person. I mean, is that
Yeah.
something you do in your state?
Well, I think in Montana, there's going to be a lot of probably the maintenance people are going to do that type of work, or perhaps the pest control. Again, we only have 1.2 million people in the whole state, so only a few areas would be it's what's ironic is that there's not a lot of wildlife in Montana. A lot of people think we're just inundated with wildlife. It's just not true. We had more wildlife back in Massachusetts because we have water and people.
Right
All
there.
right. And so that doesn't mean we don't have any wildlife in Montana. We do, but they tend to be animals that are more in agricultural related, and so they're not always getting into structures like we had back east with a lot more raccoon pressure and a lot more squirrel pressure. So
Okay.
part of that's a population deal, and then people uh, they just it's a different world. It's a different world out here. So there are guys who are busy
Right.
doing work, but they tend to be in the more urbanized areas, urbanized for Montana, some around the greater cities and suburbs of some of those cities.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah,
So, question: Do you? I mean, and I'm not specifically your state, but in
hmm
general, I think we talked about this on the last call. There's a lot of we have the swallows, right?
yeah, right.
Swallows are protected. So, could you go in and remove swallows? Like, could you go in and remove the nest of swallows if they were not?
Only if it's abandoned. If it's abandoned, you can remove it.
So, I mean, I think we talked about this last time, and it's a great kind of little like kind of catalyst here for everybody who's listening that didn't listen
Hmm.
last time. Is that, and I think this is something that Stephen learned. I don't remember if you learned this or not last time, but so swallows, they have this lovely ectoparasite on them called the swallow bug.
Right.
Remember when we talked about this? And the
We
swallow
did.
bug is known to transmit a lovely, nasty alpha virus called Buggy Creek virus,
Yeah.
right? And we talked about that, and there actually are known cases of it. So in my mind, I look at even something as simple as a swallow. Maybe you build a camp. I don't know if they're not obviously for you, but like if there's a state where they're very, the populations are high, maybe you build a campaign around something like that. I'm trying to. What's something that's very popular in most states that somebody could build a campaign around as far as the wildlife?
Well, I think for popularity, I think it would be more on the issue of what's going to be the high dollar ones. I would think that for most wildlife control operators, uh, bat control would be a high dollar figure. Some specialize in raccoons,
Okay.
and then you have some that really get highly specialized in, excuse me, predator control, like coyotes.
Okay.
That's which is very niche. And then some will do some specialized work in feral pigs. And
Okay.
so these tend to be some of these larger kinds of contracts. So wildlife control operators getting those higher dollar situations or getting them involved in connected with major corporations that they can have long-term relationships with as opposed to just simply the residential market, so to
Yeah.
speak, the places where they are obligated to handle wildlife problems such as power stations, perhaps places where, like, one guy I knew had a contract with railways for beavers because the beaver flooding can undermine
Yeah.
the tracks and that sort of thing. Those are those are a very highly coveted slice, and then of course the person has to have the ability to service those
Yeah.
large accounts.
So I think to your point, let's just use the beaver, for example, right? I
Mm,
mean, I think if you had the opportunity, a lot, I don't know if anybody, again, we talked earlier about the softwares, right? And if anybody actually uses software for maintaining their work orders and their
yeah.
CRM for their customer database, any of that stuff. I mean, if you are, most of those softwares are going to have an ability to send out some sort of marketing campaign.
Hmm.
I mean, even in pest control software, the last company I worked for, we were using a smaller pest control software company, but they had the ability to do that marketing campaign. And I mean, a good example of what I did was the company that I was with currently did not have a mosquito program in place,
Right.
right? I'm in California. We all know California is very go green, environmentally friendly. So I was like, the mosquitoes are starting to bite. We got the 80s, the ankle biters in California. They're coming out in San Diego. We now have dengue on the rise, dengue fever, which is on the rise,
That's
huge. You
that's a
know,
scary that's a scary disease.
it is scary, and it's in Mexico. We've got 80s in San Diego, so it's across. All we can do is cross the border, right? It's
Hmm.
there, and so I decided I was like, this is a good opportunity to create a green program for mosquito control. People are gonna pay for that kind of stuff; they always will. And so I created the program, created the green program, laid it all out, and then essentially I uploaded it to the marketing campaign, and I sent it out to the X number of thousands of customers the company had. And within a week, I brought in $25,000 in revenue for the company.
Yeah.
You know?
So you really recommend people when they're getting clients getting that email information so they can put that as part of a regular newsletter, some sort of a sale that they can have to reach back
Yeah.
out to that client and try to get the repeat business. I think that's one of the biggest challenges for wildlife control is the difficulty in getting the repeat business. Um, so for example, when I was when I was doing field work back way back a long time ago, that was the one of the most difficult things is I rarely ever had to get called back to a client except for moles. Moles was a different animal. And I suspect that for many of our audiences, that's one of the major differences between the pest control space and the wildlife control space is that uh, we even have people in the industry that will say, if you listen to what I tell you, you will never call me again. And that's how they market themselves. So getting that repeat business is it's very difficult. But I think that we're leaving a lot of money on the table because if they go handle a squirrel job and they say to the person, well, you should cap your chimney, and they didn't pay for it at that point, that would be something to follow up with,
Ah,
several months later. But again, that requires a lot of computer time because you have to key that in, right? You have to say that
yes
they
and
have
no. You
this,
have to feed in
they have to key
initially,
that in.
but if you have the right program in place, you can set a follow-up right then and there. The follow-up will remind you 2 months from now.
Right.
Or if you have the right program in place, the follow-up sends an email to the customer 2 weeks from now saying, "Hey, by the way, did you get that chimney cap replaced?
Mhm.
If not, give us a call." And maybe the idea is if there's what do you call it, chimney cap or whatever these,
Yeah, chimney cap. Yep.
maybe instead of trying to solve it 2 weeks later, maybe when you're there with a customer, say, "Hey, I've got a Rolodex of people that can help you. Do you see if I can get somebody in here to to fix this for you?" And then you
Right.
contract it out and you manage the customer and you make the money. I mean, that's what pest control companies do all the time, right?
Sure. Yeah, there are those who do that. Absolutely. But now there's even pressure within the industry where some people who were relying on referrals from pest control companies are now moving into the wildlife control space. Not all of them, but some of them no longer refer. And I talked to one guy who said that he lost like half, like was wondering why the phone stopped ringing. So he was relying on the referral business from this pest control company, and that company decided they were looking at the books and they were like, "Wow, we're sending a lot of business over to him," and they decided to keep it in house, and it blindsided him. He says, "I'm not doing that again," because he was relying on someone else doing all that work for him. Yeah,
Oh, fair enough.
yeah.
Um,
But what software? So while we're on the issue of software, which softwares or if you can't recommend one, what should someone look for when they're looking to purchase one? Because you go online and on Facebook, it seems that some of these softwares they come in with a bang, and then you start seeing the complaints later on. I mean, I don't, not that I'm following it that closely, but I'm like, people had, this particular one and it was gangbusters, and then all of a sudden the customer support seemed to fade over time, and that
right.
and
Fair.
I'm like, I just you just
So
like wondering where
the
do people
software
go?
conversation gets complicated. My recommendation is that if anybody has any questions about the software, please just reach out to me directly.
Mhm.
I'll happily, we can have a phone call and I won't charge you for it. And I'll happily kind of give you some options. I mean,
Mm,
the reality there is I'm like, there's so many out there. Like, I mean, I'm currently, I've used one called Smarter Launch. They're really good. So that's an option. I'm trying to think. You don't necessarily see a wildlife person doesn't necessarily need a pest control software,
yeah,
right? Because the pest control software is more built out to have all the products and all the labels, and
yeah,
that, there's so much built into it. Wildlife doesn't need all that. They just need
that's
basically
correct.
you need a glorified CRM, a customer, resource like management.
Yeah, right. It with just a few with just a few of the pesticides,
For
right?
health, all that you could go use Salesforce. Salesforce
Yeah,
for you.
Salesforce. And what do products like that usually cost on a? They're probably in a subscription
Yeah,
subscription
there's
program.
I really don't know to be honest with you. I
Yeah,
mean, The reality is that I try to tell people, and this is what I'm also good at when my software background brings to the table is
Mm,
almost take any software and manipulate it to do what you want. As long as it's got the backend database parameter tables and it's got the stuff you want to do, then you can just, I've done that for, I've taken a pest control software and made it wildlife. I've taken it and made it, plumbing. I've taken it and made it something else. So as long as it's got the backend database parameter tables, then you can do whatever you want with it.
wow. Yeah. So that would be important because this is space I don't think we've been completely served like with a total package. You know, what I mean by total package, something on the accounting side
Right.
and then the CRM combined. And so usually because I had a person I knew out of Louisiana, he created a contact program for on the contact side, but it wasn't incorporating the financial, like the bill side. It could only
Right.
do income. It couldn't do
Yeah.
it couldn't do the expense side.
That's what typically, honestly, most wildlife people even use pest control softwares, right? Because at that
Hmm,
point, it does everything you need to do and more.
right, right.
Into that, I mean, you've got Jesus, you've got Pest Pack, Field Routes, Fieldworks HQ, Gorilla Desk, BrioStack. I mean, I could just go through a million of them.
Yeah.
There's so many options there. I mean, I've actually reviewed all of the different softwares that are available in the US at that point.
So so why hasn't there been more consolidation within the industry? Why haven't
It's
one
software.
company bought, yeah, one
They
like
might
Gorilla
just
Desk buying out one of the other ones or
yeah,
vice
yeah.
versa?
They do that. I mean, Service Titan bought Serve Suite, which is now Field Works, I think. And so
Uh-huh.
yeah, I think that's right. So they
Okay.
do that kind of stuff. There are acquisitions. I mean, PestPack bought Real Green, which was primarily lawn care software. So the
Mm,
acquisition in the software world as well.
yeah. So, but has one emerged to be the like the big dog? When you look at software for word processing, for example, what comes to mind? Microsoft Word, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that is the big dog. Yeah, you can get other programs to do your word work, but that's the first one that comes to mind without, hands down, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
that's the big dog. Do we have a big dog within this particular
we have
space?
two big dogs.
Yeah.
We have PestPack and then we have Field Routes.
Okay.
And those are the two big dogs. But I'll tell you right now, and I'm not saying this, I'm not trying to say this, I'm not downing the softwares.
Right, right. No, I get it.
Just from my personal experience, you're not going to get that level of customer support you want when you go with the big dogs. I mean, imagine trying to call Microsoft, right?
Right, right.
Calling some little podunk person that's like new and upcoming and they're really just trying to get the thing going. They're going to be there to support you like that. Where Microsoft, you might be on the phone for an hour if you're lucky.
Sure. But isn't the difference though with Microsoft? I mean, I don't really need to contact them. I mean, right, the software has gotten to a point where it just does what it needs to do, and I don't need to talk. So the question that I would have is that guy still going to be in business in 3 years? And so you put all this energy into a software and then he
Yeah,
goes bust. And then how do you export all of that material to another program? And there's
all the
always
conversion.
a problem. There's
Yeah,
always a problem. Like it
yeah.
never flows, right?
Uh,
It's always something.
Honestly, I haven't seen any. I'm not aware of any software companies, pest control software companies that have started and are not
Yeah.
still in business.
Okay. All
Even
right.
if they're small. I don't know of any because I mean, you think about software. I mean, what is it? Pure profit outside of like getting
Right.
like a server to host things and
Yeah.
hire engineers to do some stuff. I mean, if you can do all the coding and all the stuff yourself, it's almost pure profit. So if you're $1 million software company, you're not just going to stop having a company just because you know what I mean.
Right. Right. No, that makes sense. So, all right. I'm just talking about some of the fears that I would have. I'm
That's
assuming some of
fair.
our audience would have it
That's
as
fair.
well. So, uh, what else? So we have the big four. You mentioned the big four of TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube.
Right.
Are there what would be the steps after those four? Saying, let's say someone is wanting to take it to the next level. Because is there a difference between trying to market a service as opposed to marketing a product?
Yeah, so great question. I wanted to kind of get back to that. So what I've seen, at least from the pest control side on TikTok, is that a lot of these different companies, they just like post cool videos of stuff they're doing.
Hmm.
Right. So like there's a guy over in East Coast, kind of East Coast area. He has like I think 300,000 followers on TikTok, right? And he just posts like cool videos of like, bed bug infestations and termite stuff and cool things. And then there's another guy that I totally randomly came across over in Australia. His name's Dale. He owns
Hmm.
that Pest Control. He came across the largest, I think I told you this last time. He came across the largest ever recorded hornet nest.
Oh,
And
right. I think
literally,
you did mention
he
that.
went to, he's like in this crazy like bee suit thing
Right.
to open the bathroom door, and the nest literally is on the wall from the ceiling all the way down to the floor, stretched behind a bathroom toilet.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like, and he was on the news, it went viral. But I'm like, I came across this guy. I was like, I'll just reach out to Dale and connect, and then we connect.
Right.
Been like kind of like acquaintances ever since then.
So he has a lot of traffic. So are people making money on the TikTok videos? Because I'm wondering, when you
Both.
have that many visitors, how many of those are actually going to be customers as opposed to making money off the revenue, the ads related to the videos?
So it's kind of dual fold, right? So
Okay.
obviously, with most of the socials, at least with TikTok, once you get to 10,000 followers, you have like three different check marks you have to meet. You have to have I think like the followers, you have to have so many likes, and then like so many videos posted. There's like a
Right.
like triage of like things to get you through. Then if you meet all three of those, you can apply to become part of the creator program. Once you're part of the creator program, any videos that you post over 1 minute long, those will monetize for you as long as they go viral. And so,
Right.
like, I had those two videos that I put out that hit like 50 million views each, right? And in 2 months, those two videos made me $10,000.
Wow.
Now that
Okay.
was straight up like, here's creator money. Your video's done so well, blah, 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 blah. I'm sure that TikTok has something in the background where they're making money off of it, but
Oh, I would think so. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the money they paid me. Now, from an ROI perspective, from getting leads from it, excuse me, I don't really know what the lead generation is from it. I don't know how that works. I know that I've reached out to people and they said they have gotten traffic from TikTok. Because here's the thing, I mean, with all the newer and upcoming generations, right? People don't go to Google anymore to search for anything. They just don't. Like when I moved to San Diego back in 2023, my wife and I went on TikTok and I was like, sushi San Diego. It came up with Cannonball. I had a video that showed me the food, that showed me the view, that showed me everything. I was like, we're going to Cannonball Sushi. And that's
It
how
wasn't everything that
it
was
was
marketed.
delicious. It was beautiful. It was great.
Okay.
It was amazing. I
Okay.
was like, all right, I'm on TikTok. I'm like, San Diego chiropractor. My back hurts.
Right.
Into the chiropractor. I love the video, love the chiropractor.
No kidding.
So
Okay.
people
All
are now
right.
using social media for search engine optimization.
Yeah. So what about so clearly the unusual is going to be more, it's probably going to be more easily converted into a viral video. What is someone supposed to do in the meantime when they're just doing the mundane, same squirrel job today as they did 2 weeks ago, right? So uh, while they're waiting to get to
Viral
unique,
video.
that viral video, how do they get to
Um,
that point?
I mean, there's no perfect way to get there. I mean, I can't guarantee the
Yeah.
algorithm's going to pick you up, but the best you can do is just to follow, the steps of, applying the viral music in the background, using your captions, applying the
Mhm.
top 10 hashtags, um, just making sure that your video content hopefully is something, eye-catching, right? I mean, as
Yeah.
long as it's eye-catching, you're good to go. But then the other thing that I followed that seemed to work was, and this is a little more work than most people want to exhibit, but
Yeah.
I was posting 3 videos a day.
Yeah.
And then I was cross posting my 3 videos a day to the other platforms. So that equals,
Yeah.
now we're talking about 12 videos a day. Now, the reality is, if you're in TikTok, you can literally, and you've got all your things, you can connect in TikTok, you can connect your Instagram, your other things, right? And if you got those connected, you can literally click a button that says cross post to the other platforms.
Right.
It'll pull you into the other platforms. It'll pull your video in. You basically, one thing I do as a social media person is I've got all the top 10 viral hashtags saved in the notes app on my iPhone.
Yeah.
That way
Yeah.
I can copy and paste, copy and paste. I don't want to have to write that shit every time. Copy and paste.
Sure. And so because there's going to be, if everyone begins using those top 10, there's obviously the algorithm's probably going to change. When do you know that that algorithm is changing and you need to find a different hashtag? Is there
Um,
a clue that you're looking for? Is there like a drop in viewership? What are you looking for in that? Or do you just have to
that's
periodically
interesting.
check what the
I
latest
just
ones?
keep kind of like checking, right? Like when
Yeah.
some periodically I'll just type the hashtag in instead, and then I'll see what it says when it comes up with how many people have viewed it. Because like
Gotcha.
weird, sometimes there's like glitches in the software, and there's been times where I've gone to type for you, which is the for you page, which is very popular now. And typically in TikTok, it might say 2.7 billion views. And then one day I go to look and it says 3 views. So I don't know if it's a software glitch. I don't know what's
That's
going on.
yeah, that's a pretty big
Yeah,
variance there, right?
right, right.
That's a pretty big variance.
You brought up a good point. You probably want to check it every once in a while just to make
Yeah,
sure that it's actually like still kind of trending with those number of views.
sure. No, okay. Where does AI fit in any of this? Do you employ any AI techniques to
You
work
know,
with some of this,
I
or is that
haven't
still too new?
yet. Oddly enough, I was talking to some friends the other day about AI, and they were telling me how horribly bad it is for the environment, but I don't know yet. I guess because of all the energy it takes.
It does well, yeah. So there's certainly that, but nevertheless, there's
Right.
it's going all over the place, right? I mean,
Oh,
there have been some efficiency. I read a newsletter on AI, and it's I'm trying to learn more. I'm trying to learn more about it, but there have been some breakthroughs on the level of efficiency where it needs a lot more computing power, depending on how they're working some of the software issues. But yeah, I mean our energy consumption's gonna is not declining. This idea that we're gonna sort of, solar panel or wind farm our way out of our energy, it's just that's a fool's errand. It's not happening.
fair
Okay, it
enough.
so anyone who believes that, I have a bridge I want to sell you in New York, definitely reach out to me. I will sell it to you multiple times if you wish. So
Um,
it's just not true. But
I got you. To get back to your question though, as far as AI, I mean, AI is a great tool.
mhm,
I call it just that. It's a tool, and it's not meant to like. If you're going to go to AI and try to generate some content, do it all day long, but make sure you fact check it. That's what I always tell
mm,
people. You got to fact check because all AI is doing is literally searching all of these different databases and all
yeah.
different stuff and is pulling it together. But at the end of the day, who puts everything on the internet? We do, right? So there's a chance there's a
Yeah, there are some hallucinations, but I was looking at there are there are AIs now that will actually take a PDF and
right?
create a video out of it, which I thought was
Oh yeah.
wild, right? I
Oh,
mean, that's just amazing. I mean, I haven't tried it yet, uh, but I'm it's that's certainly amazing. But I was also thinking in
we're back
terms
to the
of
money thing though. We're back to the money thing. It's
right,
called money. That's not AI generation video. Video generated AI is not going to be cheap and it's not going to be free.
yeah, okay,
So I'm like,
yeah,
I love your idea. And if you want to do that all day long, if you have the money to spend, I mean, that's great. But I'm like, I think
mm,
according to you, that most of the people are not going to have a lot of like probably, a lot of money to spend on this stuff. I'm assuming. Is that correct?
yeah. Well, right, or they either, but if they are willing to spend it, they're looking for that return on investment because one of the challenges that I've had when I'm trying to look at the marketing sphere, and
Right.
and I am not a marketer, clearly. I mean, like I said, my book sales clearly show that, right? The issue that I have is that if marketers are if are as I just wish there was a marketer I could hire that would work on a percentage of return basis, right? It's sort of like a lawyer. Like you don't pay if we don't win, right? I mean that sort of thing. And I get the
You're talking about rev share.
rev share, some sort where
Yeah.
because
Gotcha.
now I know that it won't cost me anything unless I'm earning something, right? Now I'm at a disadvantage because I'm not providing really services in the area because my day job prohibits me from doing that unless I'm working underneath someone else for the competitive side. But
Right.
even when it came to like when trying to market, materials, finding that niche of trying to get that material out there because one of the challenges, of course, is we're becoming a less literate society. I mean, I resisted doing videos for years,
Right.
um, I've had to finally just sort of give up and realize that people just don't read anymore. I mean, reading is like we are becoming a less literate society. Literally, I mean, people will not read. I mean, I heard a statistic, I don't know if it's true, but it certainly feels true, that says the average American male has not read a book, any book, completely in the last 12 months.
I mean, possibly. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
Like, I look at the reading thing as far as like I read emails all day long. Is that
right.
calculated as a book if I read
No,
enough?
because it's not an extended argument, right? It's so even in colleges, when I was at the University of Nebraska, I was shocked at how I had a student say that he had never read a book in the 4 years that he was there because everything was journal articles. Now, I'm in favor of journal articles. I mean, I think journal articles are important,
Right,
but no journal article is going to give you a synthetic look at a at a discipline,
right.
right? It's not going to do it. It's going to give you a slice of information that is very, very, very narrow. And so you're not seeing an extended argument. I mean, look at our discourse generally. I mean, for people to have an extended conversation like we're having is sort of unusual. People usually are screaming at each other, right? Using bullet points or whatever, and just tweaking each other rather than having a real thoughtful conversation, right? They can't follow the argument. It's just, uh, you know, calling name calling or whatever. It's we've lost the ability to follow a chain of arguments and ideas. We just have lost it.
Right.
I mean, obviously there are exceptions, but you know where the trend is. That's my point about the trend going, right? It's just everyone thinks everything's available, online. I can
This is
find
fair.
every answer in the world on Google. It's not true. Or if you get an answer, it doesn't mean it's in context or with proper perspective, right? So that's what I'm digressing here. It's one of my pet peeves, but nevertheless, I'm a dinosaur and I recognize that. So gotta know your place in the universe, right? So
Probably graduated high school around the same time, Stephen.
I'm almost 60.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. Little
Right. I'm a little older than you are, right? So I'm almost 60. So I've noticed a dramatic change. People's I've noticed even my own attention span has dropped.
right. Oh,
It's
I
even
mean,
harder.
yeah, that's everybody though at this point in life. I feel like
Yeah.
my attention span gets less just because I think it's funny. I always used to I always used to think that these old people were like impatient, right? Like when I was
Hmm.
working retail back in the day, and I'm like, they're not impatient. They're just tired of having to say the same damn thing over and over again. Like I'm over this. Like I'm so tired of having to tell you the same thing,
Well, maybe I'll use that as my excuse. I just get off my lawn, right?
right?
So without a doubt. So what are some of the is there anything more you wanted to add in terms that people should have? You gave them some important principles to if they wanted to go down this path of doing their own self-marketing. Anything that you would like to have covered that we haven't covered here that you'd want to make sure it gets out?
I don't think so. I mean, we talked about, creating the profiles, making sure, you're kind of crossing all these different things off, making sure that you're, cross-posting and all that, posting 3 times a day, cross-posting hashtags, viral music, all that kind of stuff. So not that I'm aware of. I mean, I think the thing I want people to be aware of is that it's a scary some people are scared to get in front of the camera, and I always encourage everybody, don't be scared to get in front of the camera, or if you don't want to be in front of the camera, just don't record yourself in front of the camera.
Right,
Record the
right.
animal, record stuff, talk over it. You don't have to be on the picture, but people tend to connect with people,
Yeah,
right? And so that's the reality, is that if you there's a good chance you could connect with people if you are on the camera, and if people
yeah,
like you and you do well, then that could even mean more for you. And so
yeah.
no, I always just encourage people, don't be scared of it. At the end of the day, you can always take it down. You can click that little delete button.
Right. And delete it. That's an important point because video is a more intimate experience. It's the same way like we become a fan of someone on TV or something like a series. We identify with them and we feel that we know them. Whereas radio is a lot more distant in that sense. It's a different medium. I think that's an important point. Do you have any concerns, any cautions on when people are taking videos to be sure they're protecting client privacy?
I
Any
mean,
thoughts on that?
you always want to be sure you're not like putting somebody's logo, or if you're at a school, you're putting the name of the school in there. Or like
Yeah.
obviously it's
Okay.
there's people involved. You always have to get permission from people to record them. That's just always
Okay.
you don't technically probably have to, but it's always a good idea too.
Right. Right.
You know,
No, without a
I
doubt.
try to avoid recording people and try to more focus on recording the
Yeah.
animals, the
Right.
parasites. Obviously, you don't want to record any animals getting hurt.
Yeah.
That will have a video retracted very quickly off any social media platform. They just pull them
Yeah.
down immediately. So whatever you're doing, just make sure that the animals are not getting hurt. And yeah, outside of that,
Yeah. And I would be sure you get I would suggest if you're using employees, get a waiver
yeah.
from your employee and say that this is a work for hire and get a but maybe even talk to a lawyer just to make sure your I's are dotted. The last thing you want is for a video to go viral and your employee thinking, "Hey, I'm an actor. I need to get a piece of that." So get that worked out before
I,
you go viral.
I try to avoid involving employees only because a
Sure.
lot of these employees are temporary,
Yeah.
especially in today's day and age. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think anybody stays
I
in
think
the
it's a good idea. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, so I tell people if you're going to actually have somebody on video, just let it be the owner of the company.
Sure.
Let it be
Yeah.
somebody who's like in it, to win it.
Absolutely. No, that's some really good advice. Well, you've been listening to Adam Holt. He is the owner of Name Dat, DAT, Bug Consulting, and his website is namedatbug.com. And he's out of Hawaii, but don't let that discourage you. He's available. Reach out to him if you have questions or you're looking to hire him to do some of the marketing. Perhaps you're like, hey, I just want me to do a consult or have him do some of the work for you. He can work out arrangements with you. He'd be available from his website name.bug.com, and I'll put a Chiron here in the bottom to make sure that people have that available for them as well. Well, Adam, well, thank you so much for visiting with us again and sharing some of your actionable techniques about getting marketable. And folks, start taking some videos and you make it something that goes viral for yourself. So that is really appreciate you sharing that information today. Well, everyone, you've been listening to Wildlife Control Consultant Podcast, where we deal with all things related to vertebrate pest control from a technical perspective. And today, we dealt with the business side of wildlife damage control in terms of the marketing. So we hope you enjoy that. Do let Adam Holt know that you like the show by hitting the favorites and the like key below, and also put in some comments. We'd appreciate that. You can reach me at wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com, wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your comments, thoughts, criticisms, and yes, even if you want to be on the show or have ideas for new shows, definitely reach out to me. That's going to be it today for the Wildlife Control Consultant podcast. So until next time, take care, everyone. This is the disclaimer for Wildlife Control Consultant podcast. Vertebrate pest control is an inherently dangerous activity involving risk of bodily injury to you, others, and/or property. Vertebrate pest control also involves legal issues, so be sure to always follow national, state, provincial, and local laws when using pesticides and/or other control methods when controlling pests. Wildlife Control Consultant LLC, Stephen M. Van Tassel, or their affiliates are not responsible for your use of the information provided here. Always consult a qualified and appropriate professional before employing the information provided here.